So this is going to take some time to get through, so let's hope you stick with it. This is a ONI 226 Allied Landing Craft and Ships. This was a confidential manual issued by the Americans Division of Naval Intelligence for D-Day. It has a list of designation, list of types. Then it has data on landing craft and ships, data on combined operations auxiliaries, personnel landing craft, vehicle and tank landing craft, support and command craft, repair and supply craft, amphibious vehicles and landing ships. Because obviously everything coming into D-Day is being dropped off on the shoreline or at the Mulberry Harbour, and it all has to come by ship. So as well as having ships that carry things, they had landing craft that actually did specific jobs for repair. So we'll have a look through this. I have 14 minutes running on this thing, so let's have a look. So it goes through all of these. Do feel free to maybe freeze frame and see what's what, because it'll take forever to go through it. You've got all the different types of landing craft personnel: landing craft assault, landing craft infantry, landing craft rubber, and then you have landing barge vehicle, landing craft vehicle personnel, landing craft mechanised, landing craft tank, and all the marks. It goes through all the marks of the landing craft as well. Then you have landing barge flak, landing craft support small, medium, mark 1, 2, 3, landing craft support large, landing craft infantry, gunboat, rocket, landing craft flak, landing craft tank, landing craft assault, hedgerow, landing craft tank armoured, landing craft gun medium, motor gunboat, landing craft control, landing craft navigational, landing craft headquarters, landing craft personnel survey, landing barge emergency repair, landing barge oiler, landing barge water, landing barge kitchen, landing barge emergency repair. Then you have all the LVT tracks, as we called them, the alligator, LVT 1, 2, 3A, DUKW, Jeep, Terrapin 1, Terrapin 2, and all the marks thereof. Then we go into landing ships: medium, LST, landing ship dock, landing repair ship, landing craft, landing ship emergency repair, landing ship vehicle, landing ship stern chute, landing ship carrier, derrick hoisting, landing ship gantry, landing ship infantry, hand hoisting, landing ship headquarters, landing ship personnel, landing ship bombardment, landing ship fighter direction, amphibious force flagship, high-speed transport destroyer, coastal transport. And so it goes on and on. Issued 7th of April 1944. We'll have a quick look through it. So these are just the list of the designations. Again, list of designations. Statistical tables, US and British landing craft. So it's got every conceivable kind of ship to shore craft. I'm not talking battleships or anything like that. Here's all the vehicles, landing vehicle tracked. Got the type, the class, the capacity, the dimensions, the tonnage, maximum speed, endurance, and the armament of each one. So it's a really handy publication. Then we get a picture and the details. Landing craft personnel Mark II, 18 men, 3 crew. So it's got the endurance, the propulsion unit, the fuel that it took. So everything you needed to know, if it was your job to know, you would know it. Landing craft personnel small, and it goes on and on. And this was a car boot sale find about, God knows how long ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago. It cost me £2 at a car boot sale. And it just goes on. Many different types of landing craft were employed, and I think model kit manufacturers have only built really a small range of them available. And of course they're all in weird scales as well. You go from 172, 135 and smaller and smaller, but you would think they would try and keep them at a constant scale. I mean, nobody's done an LST in 172 scale, be too big. Although I do believe one of the radio controlled tank companies in 1/16 has actually done a World War II landing craft that cost about 500 quid. Radio controlled as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of weird craft, each with a specific job and built for a specific purpose. Landing craft support medium. What's the armament on that? 12 type 18 smoke generators. Armament. 250 caliber twin powered operated Vickers MGs in a turret. 2 303 Lewis guns as well. That one's got a turret off a Daimler armoured car. Who'd have thought that? If you made a model of that, nobody would believe you. Then you see the black and white photograph. There's the rocket firing ones. Landing barge for carrying water. Landing barge with a kitchen. That's how it's laid out. Diesel tank, 4 ovens, kitchen, bulk, stores, toilet, store, fuel tanks, engine. 10-ton fresh water tank. To serve as floating kitchen to groups of landing craft. So the floating kitchen, the landing barge kitchen, is not for troops on the beach. It's actually a kitchen for the crews that are in landing craft. Who'd have thought that? So they thought of everything. Then you have landing craft emergency repair. Then you go through the LVTs. LVT1. LVT2. Unfortunately, for the Americans, we got some on Lend-Lease that we used. But they didn't really come into the use till the crossing of the Scheldt estuary and things like that. Some were used on D-Day by the British as carpet layers and things like that, but the Americans never really used them on D-Day. They were mainly an American thing for the Pacific. It was based on a civilian swamp vehicle, and why people think they were never used on D-Day is because the US Navy were actually the people that owned them, and they wouldn't let them be released for D-Day. They wanted them to all go to the Marines in the Pacific, and that's where the bulk of them went, apart from the ones that were sent as Lend-Lease to the British. So this is why the Americans didn't even use these on D-Day, which is a shame, because it would have provided them some cover, because it's got a ramp that comes down from the back. And, you know, how many lives would that have saved on D-Day if they'd actually used them? So we go through the various marks, and as you can see, it's got a door that comes down. The various types. Then you have the duck. Now the variation that it doesn't show for D-Day, the duck, and we'll have a look at some models in a few days over the weekend. There was 3 ducks that were specially modified by Merriweather with lightweight 100-foot ladders, and the ladders were intended to accompany the American troops on Omaha Beach after the cliffs had been scaled. But two of the vehicles got trapped on a sandbank and destroyed, and the third vehicle couldn't deploy its side supports, and so it got stuck in the shingle. So they were basically useless. But that isn't covered in here, because I think it was a British Admiralty order for the Americans on Omaha Beach. But anywho, that's the duck. The amphibious jeep, which the Americans didn't like, so they dumped them on the British. The British didn't like them, so we dumped them on the Russians. And the Russians took one look at it and said, we can build one better. And the outcome was the Gaz amphibian that was used in what was it? Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The ones they use in that movie is the post-war Gaz version, which is it's a wider and a slightly longer vehicle, which means it's more stable. So the Gaz version was actually better than the World War II version that the Russians were dumped on by the British. Landing ships medium. More landing ships. So it's something, an interesting little booklet that you're not You're not going to encounter it every so often. And I take it that people were meant to study these in the days after D-Day, really, because you wouldn't have something like this on your person at D-Day in case you got captured by an enemy, and you could tell what was what and maybe which ships were better off being sunk before others, if you see what I mean. Landing ship headquarters, or the landing ship infantry, LSPs, LSIs, high-speed transports, high-speed transport destroyers, based on destroyers, and finally coastal transport, small. So that has been a confidential US Navy manual, 1944, ONI 226 Allied landing craft and ships. Let's see, we have any information out of here. ONI 226 Allied landing craft and ships is designed to facilitate recognition of and to make available pertinent data regarding the characteristics of United States and British vessels which may engage in amphibious operations. Information of a non-technical nature necessary for recognition and use of landing craft, ships and vehicles is provided in condensed form. Figures given are based on the best obtainable information. Experience has shown, however, that speed, endurance and similar characteristics of these vessels may vary under operational conditions, and data given here should not be accepted when in conflict with experience in the field. And it gives you the terms, small units. The term landing craft is generally applied to non-ocean going vessels of less than 150 feet length overall. ONI 226 Allied landing craft and ships supersedes FTP 207 characteristics of British and United States landing craft, landing ships and landing vehicles. It is issued for the use of United States and British units and personnel engaged in amphibious operations. Holders of ONI 226 will safeguard the security of this publication in accordance with the provisions of Article 76 US Navy Regulations. When no longer required, this publication will be destroyed by burning. No report of destruction is required. And I would say that's what happened to most of them. Most of them ended up being burnt. But one turned up at a car boot sale in England about 20 years ago and I paid £2 for it. Bye for now.